Hi again, it's me, Cinnamon. I'm a 23-year-old working a corporate job who loves all things personal finance, especially budgeting. And today I'll be budgeting my second and final paycheck of April. So this is my gross pay minus taxes, and my gross pay actually went up this paycheck because I did get a small raise. It was 2%, and I think in absolute terms, you can see that this is what I was getting paid for my base salary gross before the raise, and this is what I'm making after. So this is about a $115 increase. So with my second paycheck, I first like to cover my overspending on investments, which is my HSA and 401k. What I put to my 401k also went up only slightly by $17 because, again, I got that small raise and I contribute to my 401k on a percentage basis. So that translated into like a higher absolute amount going towards it with each paycheck too. And so I'll press underfunded and reset available amount. I do have other overspending that is going to take a lot of focus to figure out how to cover. Before I get into that, I'm going to follow my normal flow, which means going to my general sinking funds and giving myself the rest of my sinking fund allowance. So I give myself $727 to my sinking funds every month. Last paycheck, I gave myself $552.13 of that allowance. So now I have to give myself the delta between those two numbers. And that came out to $175.34. See, what else do I need to do? Oh yeah, I need to take out the portion of my ready to assign amount that is my reimbursement for my commuting. So I'm going to put that into this month's holding. And now I am left with the number that is what I should be putting into my investments with this paycheck, which is $3,927.40. But before I do that, I did do some checking offline and I saw that I got paid out dividends quarterly. So with my last year's taxes, I didn't even realize I was getting dividends at all. But then they showed up on my like tax form. So now I'm checking in on them quarterly because that's when they get paid out. And I saw that given what I made in dividends last quarter, Q1, I have to put $68.13 towards my dividend taxes. I wish I remembered the amount I did make in dividends, but this is 30% of that amount. So I guess if I do, I made $227.10 of dividends. That rings a bell. Oops, I pressed the wrong button. Let's actually undo this because I don't want it in my history. Okay. Now what I'm left with, $3,859.27 can go towards my investments. And that is all for me following my usual flow. Now, where things get really busy is that I have some pretty significant overspending. I have $562.39 of overspending that I need to cover. And that comes from one, buying the flight to the charity event, that was $551.20, and also a little bit from the ticket to the event. So I did put aside $300 for the ticket, but when I was checking out to buy the ticket, they gave me the option of covering the processing fee so that my total ticket amount could go towards the donation instead of like a portion of it covering the processing fee. So I did select that option, and that was an extra $11.19. So the obvious like places to cover would first be with my two holding categories. So first with my sinking fund holding category, and then with my this month's holding category. And that brings me down to $122.05 of overspending. And that seems, again, like pretty easy to cover with my discretionary spending category. So that is pretty okay. I usually don't like dipping into my discretionary spending category for sinking fund things, but I still feel like this $284 amount is good and it's like building up, so I'm pretty okay with it. But as I'm going through this, I'm remembering that I added a new specific sinking fund, which is I added a trip to Mexico City. Now, if you've watched some of my videos, I think in one video I talked about how much I do not enjoy traveling, and this would not seem to be the truth given like my budget. Like I just went to Miami, I'm going to New York twice, and now I'm going to Mexico City. These things aren't against my will, but I would prefer them if they didn't involve travel. So with Mexico City, this isn't like a trip that I would like normally take, but my roommates invited me to go with them, and they usually travel together and have never invited me, and I've never really cared because I don't even like to travel in the first place. But this year they did invite me, and we have been getting closer, so I feel like it would only be the right thing to say yes. Yeah, and I want to like maintain a very good relationship with them. It is really nice just like being closer to the people I live with. So that is why I'm going on this trip. I am so exhausted thinking about all of the travel things I need to do, and I'm really glad I did get a travel card to like at least get more points for all of the flights I'm buying. But yeah, it's just way too much travel. I'm like so nervous about the next few months just because I will be flying all over the place so much. So yeah, anyway, all these travel plans are totally like breaking my budget, but socializing with people is like, I guess, if you guys watch like Rameet Sethi's videos, like one of my top money dials. So traveling is like a very it's a 0% money dial for me, but socializing with people is like a big one for me. And a lot of the things that I am traveling for are really about people. Like my Mexico trip is to see my roommates, New York is to see my family, and this charity event is to see like this woman I had met when I was in middle school, and she really, really inspired me. And I really want to just like talk to her again and be like, hey, you inspired me, and here are all the things I'm doing today because of you, and thanks. So those are all really about people for me more so than travel. And the travel is like a very, very unfortunate consequence, side effect, or requirement of all the things I want to do. So, yeah, just to clarify, I still do not like travel. Anyway, with that aside, I have started pricing out some components of this trip, and the two things I need to cover this month, because we will be booking everything either tonight or Friday night, are the flight and the Airbnb. What is amazing about traveling with people is that, and also going to, outside of the country, this Airbnb is like so affordable. I was actually really surprised that it was going to be like $20 a day per person. Um, but yeah, so that comes out to 620, and I'm just going to put this amount here, and I'm going to figure out how I'm going to cover this overspending. This is where I was really like, how am I going to do it? So obviously, the first thing that comes to mind is just wiping out my discretionary spending fund, which is not fun for me at all. I really liked seeing this build up, but I guess this is the reason why we build up these funds. So that has taken us down to $335.50 that we need to cover. And let's see, I think I still need everything in these sinking funds. Yeah, I haven't gotten charged for my dental appointment yet, which is odd. I could actually possibly remove this $90 for furniture removal because my boyfriend and his friend who has a truck said they'd do it. But I think if they do it, I'd probably take them out to lunch or something. So I might just keep this 90 for now. Hmm. Okay. I think though if I took them out to lunch, I would just cover that in my social activities category. So maybe I can take this out. Actually, I'll take it out when it actually happens, because yeah, I don't know if they'll actually do it or like when they'll actually do it. Let's see. Now I have to go into my day-to-day spending. So not really ideal at all, but yeah, just gonna have to make sure that I spend less in my day-to-day to cover these future plans. And the obvious category I can take from is groceries. It would seem that I do not eat because even my eating out is kind of low. And it's just because I split a lot of food expenses now um, with my boyfriend. So I feel like my budget hasn't really been fully accurately capturing my spending, which is unfortunate, but I don't know how else I can really get that data about like how much I spend on food. I'll work on that because I personally just like want to make sure I I have good data on how much I spend in certain categories. So we have like pretty much a week left to the month. So I like to give myself $20 a day. And this won't even be for groceries. This would be mostly eating out because I haven't been buying groceries since I'm barely home. And let's push that to ready to assign. So now I have 140 left over for groceries and $151 left to cover in overspending. I'm trying to really, like I could clear out some of these small categories, but it's not super duper worth it to me. Um, Health and hygiene expenses is pretty built up, and I feel like I was supposed to make a lot of purchases, and I've just like fully not been on top of the stuff I need for the house because again, I'm like rarely home. So I haven't made those purchases, but I really do want to do that before the month ends. This category, I am going to need to likely buy a few things while I work on getting a new job because I have to like prepare for those interviews, but I won't start studying for my interviews May because I will be traveling, and then June I'll also be traveling a little bit. So maybe July. So I could build this back up to $180 if I put $90 a month for those 2 months. So I think this is probably the best category to take from, but let me just double check the other ones. Aesthetic expenses. I'll definitely need money for buying clothes to Mexico City because I don't have super duper like warm clothes. Yeah, or clothes for warm climates. So I need to work on that. So I'll probably want to keep stuff here. And my social activities should really be overspent. Like I'm barely hanging on there. So yeah, let's cover this with this overspending with skill development. Okay, so that is all good. I have totally wiped out like my flexible funds, but I do still have in my core spending $584.46 available, which I can largely spend however I want because yeah, my commuting and work utilities expenses are all covered. So it's really just like last few categories that I do move money between anyway. So I might actually be good. As always with budgeting, it is just so good to have a plan and just know that I found a way to like make the numbers work with my financial goals. So yeah, I always like feel much better after I do this process. So thank you so much for watching, and I feel like I'll have a really, really busy, spendy April recap. So watch out for that video. Bye.